Welcome back to the Getting Results Inc. podcast. I'm Coach Gino, and alongside is Super Coach, Coach Ken. Super Coach, what's new in your world?
It's new in the world. A lot of people don't believe in capitalism, but hopefully all of you out there listening will keep spreading the word that capitalism works. Free markets, free people, freedom, free choice, guns work. Keep you free. Remember, you can't have private property unless you can defend that private property.
Second Amendment, right?
Second
Right
Amendment,
to bear arms.
right to bear arms. Remember, you can't have the First Amendment without the Second Amendment. It's very important. Very important, people. America
Awesome.
works.
Yes. All right, Super Coach. So today is kind of even though we didn't call it out specifically, but this is the final of a three-part series. If you're listening to the podcast, part one of the series, we did community structure and affinity. And then that was episode 46. Episode 47 was training, practice, and coaching. And this is going to be episode 48, which will be intention, knowledge, and action. All of these things, when stacked together, will help you bring all kinds of things into existence, help you have the success and the results you're looking for. So, Super Coach, let's attack IKA, intention, knowledge, and action. I believe we'll start out with intention, right?
Correct. So all of you listening, this is the magic formula to bring anything that you want into existence. And I don't care what it is, but if you follow this formula, you will bring it into existence. If currently you do not have something in existence, I don't know, maybe that's a $5 million bankroll, maybe that's a Lamborghini, maybe that's a business that you love. It's because you're either missing 1, 2, 3, or all 9 of these. So we're going to start with this idea of intention, knowledge, and action. So let's think about intention. What does intention really mean? So one of the funny things when I'll go present across the country, I'll ask everybody, who wants to be $1 million producer? And everybody's hand goes up. It's amazing. Or who wants to make $1 million? Of course we all do. Or who wants to make more money? Everybody's hand shows up. And then I ask the following question, which makes people look confused or jaws hit the floor. And I say, for what? For what? What do you want to make the $1 million for? Now, there's some more depth to this story because once again, a lot of the eyes go blank. Because I want you to all to imagine something like it's $1 million. Like think of that, $1 million in cash. You have it in a garbage bag, a garbage can, or a suitcase, wherever you put your $1 million. And you're looking at it, you're smelling it, you're trying to snort it, and then you throw it on your bed, and then you roll around in it. Like how long are you going to roll around in that money? Maybe you get your spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, dog, I don't know, whatever you're up to, and roll around it together, and you're all rolling around in it. You can do that for 6 weeks, 8 months, a year, or that's going to get boring pretty fast.
Very
You see,
fast.
there's an interesting thing about intention. It's called clarity of target or clarity of goal. Money or currency, technically, the US dollar is a fiat currency. It's not real, right? It's a piece of paper. It represents something. It represents a promise. It's an IOU. It is not real. Now, if you have a target, if any of you are out there or hunters or shooters or whatever that is, or archery is always a fun one, and you don't have a target, how do you ever improve your aim? You go out in the backyard and shoot arrows at the sky and say, ha ha ha, I got you. I got you. You see, the true purpose of a target is to hone your aim. Without a target, you cannot create feedback loops. And we get most of the value from missing the target instead of hitting the target. Now, if your target is not real, does not exist in reality, it's that much more difficult to hit it. Hopefully that makes a level of sense. So intention is, what do you actually intend to do? Like, what is the goal? Hey, I want to lose weight. Next distinction, how much weight? There's a big difference between losing 5 pounds or 50 pounds. I want to make more money. How much more money? Do you want to make an additional $1,000 a month or an additional $100,000 a month? There's a difference. And then if you could actually link the money to reality, buy X or to support Y, you've just increased the probability of bringing that thing into existence because now you are aiming for and getting feedback loops on a real target, on reality, instead of a fantasy.
Super coach, is there a difference between something you want to versus intend to?
Ooh, that's a good question. Do you want to and intend to? That's an interesting choice of language. Is I want to do something as I intend to do something. It sounds like a want is a someday maybe, and I intend is that you're actually future pacing yourself to take action in the near future.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think intention saying, hey, I'm putting I have the intention of putting my effort into it, where want is just kind of like it's kind of idle.
Yeah,
Like I
or so
want to.
I think a
It's that
want is
not
almost
really
a,
saying, yeah,
yeah, it's almost a surface level thought.
yeah,
It's surface level chatter instead of an intend or intention. Often there is thought behind that or discernment, and the value is in the discernment. Because as we've said in many podcasts before, thinking is hard. It's not easy. And now, PSA, public service announcement to all of our listeners out there. Real thinking takes effort. So unless there's a pen in your hand or you got fingers on a keyboard or you're engaged in a hearty conversation with your coach, you're not really thinking. It's surface level chatter. And surface level chatter is not good for you because surface level chatter is affected by what you saw on TV last night, what you had for lunch this morning, breakfast, whatever it is. We're very easily influenced.
yeah. Super coach. What thought just came to mind is that when you have an intention, it's that you have it. To me, you already have kind of a clear target in mind, like you were mentioning earlier, where a want is kind of like, well, I want to, but with the intention, you're already kind of saying, I've already got that thing in mind. Now I'm going to go after it, type of thing, right? Like it just seems more action oriented. I'm just trying to, for people listening, clear, like why intention and not, well, want or need to or have to, whatever that might be.
Good distinction. And the more that it's based in reality, the more that it has time and space, that it's real, that you can touch it, feel it, taste it, smell it, sit in it.
Yeah.
Once again, greater probability of achievement because now you're getting a visceral understanding of it. So an old reference to this is that let's make believe you intend to buy a Ferrari, right? The intention is to get a Ferrari. All right. Okay, cool. All right. What make, what model? We had one of my clients do this a couple months ago. We had him actually go out and sit in Ferraris to get the
Mm.
feel of it, to go meet the dealership, to go see how that works, making the target more visceral, it's more real. And then as it becomes more real and visceral, it's easier to hit it. Once again, imagine you're an archer and you're out in a field trying to improve your aim and you do not have a target. But now suddenly you have a target. You got the feel of it, you got the idea of it. And then now we can begin to put arrows downrange and get the feedback.
Yeah. It allows you to declare, right? Make a declaration that this is the Ferrari I want exactly the way it is. Now, my intention is to go make that happen.
Correct. Okay.
I like
And,
it.
and once again, this intention, we don't have, it doesn't have to be a car. All right. If it is a number in production, okay, what's the number and the for what? And the clearer you are on the for what, the easier it becomes to achieve because nothing of value is easy. Nothing of value is easier. And the bigger the number that you put out there, linking it to reality, you want to buy an apartment building with 100 units, the harder it's going to be to achieve. But the more real your vision is, the more real your intention is, when things get hard, when things really suck, it's easier to keep going when you actually have a hard and real target.
Yeah, coach, this is from a book I'm reading right now, and I got all you guys thinking about it too, is
Yeah,
The
start reading
Comfort
it.
Crisis. And in that
Hmm.
comfort crisis, you had to look at things that really challenged your mind, your body, your spirit, challenged everything. And one of the rules was it has to be 50-50. You have a 50% chance of success and a 50% chance of failure, so that it really pushed you to really move through the hurdles and really stay focused on what you were looking to accomplish. And having that little bit of difficulty that it's right on the edge allows you to really push on it to get there and break through, right?
Nothing of value is easy. The bigger the goal, the bigger the target, the more resistance you will face.
Yeah.
It's the law of the land, people. I don't know why. It just is.
Good stuff. All right, so we I think we hit intention. So next up is knowledge, the K in IKA. So
So
What's that? What's
knowledge.
that mean?
So let's look at knowledge. So let's go back to an example. You want to buy the 100-unit apartment building. You want to become a $2 million producer. Ask yourself, what knowledge do I have to make that happen? And what knowledge don't I know? Like, what's the obvious stuff that I don't know? Like, okay, like a Ferrari. One thing I don't know about a Ferrari is how much gas do you put in the tank? What is the maintenance cycle? How much does it actually cost? Not
Yeah,
only to buy, but to maintain. Okay, to be a $2 million producer. Hmm. How much revenue do I actually need? How many assets do I need? What kind of staff do I need? Or do I have and do I need? So it starts with this idea of knowledge. Now, the interesting thing about knowledge, that breaks down into three component parts, which we talked about in a past podcast, which stand for TP&C. Training. Okay, do you have the training? Now, here's the fun thing about a Ferrari, and I want you all to think about this. And I want you to run the application to your business. Can you ever imagine buying a Ferrari, taking it to the track? You've never driven it before and you've never been trained. You don't know how the damn thing works and you've never been coached and you're going to go put that thing up to 225 miles an hour? Like there is no way in hell, if you have a brain, that you would do that. Right? Because if you've ever driven a Ferrari or been in a Lamborghini, you can see why people wrap them around telephone poles.
especially
It's
they're all
all
left-hand turns, right?
left,
You gotta be used to just being
whatever they
able to,
want,
you know,
or just the power of the vehicle.
right.
Just the raw power of the vehicle is scary. So once again, this idea of knowledge, all right? What do I know? What don't I know? Okay, perhaps I need to go get trained. I need some additional knowledge. Then I need to practice. Okay, what did I learn? And of course, the last C stands for coaching. There's an interesting thing I've been reading about Navy SEALs, etc. Going, they train a lot, right? And they train over and over again because they don't want to be surprised. They don't want to be in a situation that they don't know what to do, right? There's training, right? And the more that you train, the more that you can deal with what's in front of you or the new and the different. And then you practice it. And then that coaching, it creates an interesting cycle of reinforcement. That makes sense, right? So training, practice, and
Yeah.
coaching. Once
And
again,
by the way,
depending on what,
knowledge can come
yeah,
in all kinds of ways, right? Too, like, there's books, there's training classes, there's
books,
whatever it might be,
videos,
right? It's what you, if it,
podcasts, communities,
yeah.
people,
So it's figuring out what don't you know and how do you go get that knowledge and that information, and it could be in many different formats and ways, right?
bingo. So if you do want to become a $2 million producer, first question is, or an interesting thing, we'll also talk about this in consistent action too, is do you know any of them? I mean, who are you hanging out with? Okay, right. If you're hanging out with a bunch of rookies, just like we said in the past, if you really want to improve your golf game, but all your buddies are bowlers, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. Okay, you want to be a capitalist, but all of your friends work for the teachers union. It's going to be a little bit more challenging. Nothing wrong with the teachers union, but it's just a different conversation. There goes the red flag. Here comes the trouble. What's wrong with unions? Anyway, okay.
But it does
Next
lead
one.
to one other thing, though, when you talk about like when they, to your point, is the reason why your company most likely during events, if you're $1 million producer, they'll sit you next to $2 million producers. There's a reason for that, right? And that
Correct.
part of, right, trying to have that person, connect with that person, gain that knowledge and find out what they're doing and how they're doing it, and also get the creative juices, the competitive juices flowing.
And for you also to get a visceral experience that it is possible.
Yeah.
Okay, right? That suddenly that it is possible because here is a living, breathing human being who's doing 2 times, 3 times the production that you are. Now, sometimes that can get in your head and work negatively. But on the flip side, it's like, wow, if this dude could do it, or if this dummy can do it, man, what can I do? Or sometimes you're like, damn, this dude's a genius. I'm screwed. Okay, all right, but there's nothing wrong with that either. Just stay in your lane, grasshopper. Stay in your
Hey,
lane.
and by the way, you go after it, and if you come up, you go from 1 million to 1.8 when you were at 1 million, but you didn't get to quite to the two. Hey, it's not too shabby.
It's not too
Better than where you
shabby.
were.
Not too shabby. Especially if you're engaged in the game and you love the game and you want to continue playing, your future is very rosy. But if you hit that 1.8 and you're burnt out, you're tired, and
Mm,
you're overwhelmed, the future's not that rosy, because that means more of the same or decline. And then you should definitely be talking to us.
Beautiful. All right, super coach, love it. So we got intention, we got knowledge. The last day is action. So
Action.
what's that mean?
Okay, action. So you all probably know people who want to be $1 million producer, who've also read all the books, done all the homework, read all the self-help books, can quote Gerber, can quote everybody left and right, but yet their production is still roughly at 100 to 150,000, and they've been that way for 5 or 10 years. But they know what to do. They know what to do. They are so smart. And maybe they even have their CFP, their SEMA, their SEPA, their 674, as well as an MBA and a JD. Okay, right? So they got everything known to mankind, right? They got all the stuff, but yet their business isn't going anywhere. Well, for a very simple reason, is this last element is action.
Coach, that's what it's all about right there, right? Because some people will do that, right? They go, I gotta get my CPA out. It'll make my business grow. Will it?
Yeah,
Will
I
it
gotta get my
alone make it
CFP.
grow? Will just having initials after your name make your business grow?
No, 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 obviously not. And because what's missing is the action component, right? Because once again, there's a lot of people who know where they want to go, who've read all the books and watched all the movies, but yet remain stuck. And the reason why they've remained stuck is because they haven't taken consistent action. And it's the taking consistent action which may be one of the harder parts of it. And so, how can we probability stack that we do take consistent action? Well, we have once again, three acronyms for this: CAS. So CAS, one of the ways to get you to take consistent action is community. Who is the company that you keep? Are you around? If you want to become a better golfer, are you hanging around with better golfers? If you want to become a better business owner and capitalist, are you hanging around with better business owners and capitalists, right? It's your community. There's an old exercise, which I don't really know if it's true or not, but something to get you to think about. And what that old exercise is to ask yourself, who are the 5 people that I spend the most amount of time with beyond your immediate family? Okay. And then roughly, what do they earn each year? And then you take an average of those 5 people, and then you will discover that's what your income is. Now, whether that's true or not, maybe a little true, but it's an interesting inquiry, because who do you spend time with? Because we become the conversation that we keep, consciously as well as unconsciously. And I can go into days of conversation about this, but be mindful of the company that you keep, because they influence you. Because much like when you were all kids, your moms probably said something like this, like my mom said to me. She said, Kenny, don't hang out with those boys. You're going to get in trouble. And of course, what did I do? I hung out with those boys and I got in trouble. So if things work for bad, they must also work for good, right? Just once again, everybody just think about that. If things work for bad, they must also work for good. Like the opposite must work for good. If you eat sugar and bonbons all day, that's going to be bad for you. Okay, if sugar and bonbons is bad for you, perhaps vegetables and high quality protein may be good for you. Crazy. I know. Crazy ideas. So that's committed. All right. Once again, consistent action. Surround yourself with other people who are committed like you are, so that when you're not committed, they are, and they can drag you along. Next distinction is affinity. We talked about this before. Affinity is, do you like what you do? Are you good at it? And if you're not good at it, you can get training, practice, and coaching to improve, or you can buy affinity or borrow affinity. Okay, if that makes sense. And if there's ever any questions on us, email us. Make sure you're following us on LinkedIn as well as YouTube, and would love to interact with you. And we have so much content. So if you actually ask us a question, not only can we address it on the podcast, but we will get you content on it, because we've been doing this 20 odd years. Final one, to take consistent action, is structure. Structure. Is it on your calendar? That's a simple form of structure. Okay? Like another simple form of structure that I use to get to the gym in the morning, which I kind of, it's a funny sort of side story, but is I put out my clothes the night before on the bench that's in the bathroom. Okay. And then also the night before, I make the coffee so that the coffee is brewed when I get out of bed at 4:55 in the morning. Like if I do those two things, and then we added a little one more little probability stack to get to the gym, is to jump in the cold plunge or jump in the cool pool because my cold plunge is currently malfunctioning. We won't name anybody yet, the builder, but perhaps our next podcast we will. So it's those simple little structures that set you free. They're all probability stacks in your favor.
Yep.
So okay, we throw around this idea. So let me just play a little bit. So intention, knowledge, and action. There are plenty of people who are running around in circles going nowhere. It's because they're not taking consistent action. Or there's other people that are like, man, I'm going to be $1 million producer, and all they do is take action. They're like smashing through doors and doing all of these things, but they never got the training or the practice and coaching on how to truly build a business. So they're burning a lot of bandwidth. So the idea here is to be clear on all of these. And literally, you can write them out. Okay, here's my intention. Here's knowledge. Now to get consistent knowledge, here comes my training. Here's how I practice. Here's my coaching. Okay, how am I going to take consistent action on this? Okay, here's my community. Here's my structure. And here's my affinity. Here's what I really like to do. And here's how I can get better at it.
Love it. Love it. Ken, so when we're talking about action too, that gets down right to the specifics, right? Like if you come up to and you say, hey, my production needs to be this, I gain the knowledge. The action might be, for me, I'm really good at doing seminars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm really good at that and I have a lot of success with that, then my action should be, well, I do a biweekly seminar where that's my action, which will then hopefully develop the number of contacts and prospects and things like that that'll evolve into my production kind of thing. So the action is what's that thing you're going to do to drive that intention that you're looking to get to.
So what is the action? And then you can stack community, affinity, and structure around it to increase the probability it's going to happen. So if you're really good at seminars in the library basement, a structure could be, okay, what is this? Well, I'm really good at library basements, seminars, talking about Social Security. Awesome, soldier. Structure, when are you going to do them? When I have the time or when I feel like it. Wrong answer.
Wrong answer.
Wrong answer. Structure would be every 6 weeks, every month, every quarter. Bam. Okay. Okay. Now, community. How can I increase the probability that my library basement seminars are going to happen? Well, community. Not only the people that you're inviting, but perhaps you're also tapping into a wholesaler or another partner to do a joint meeting together. And if you have a joint partner and you schedule out with a joint partner, probability of compliance just went through the roof. Now, sometimes people say, well, I don't need to do this. I'm very disciplined on my own. I don't need community or I don't need structure. Great. You're a rare bird. Run with it. But if you're a normal human being and you're honest with yourself, a lot of times we don't like to be structured and we don't want to do the things that we know we need to do. So we have to leverage ourselves to make them happen.
Love it. Love it. It's amazing, right? When you think about all the different facets of this, right? Because even with knowledge, you got to be careful, like you said earlier. There's some people who will get analysis paralysis, that old saying, right? That they want to just keep analyzing it, but they never get to the action part. And just like our podcast, by the way, this is episode number 48. So when we planned this up, when we started talking about the podcast, you and I were talking about, and finally you said, we got to just record one. Let's just do it, right? So we did over the phone. We took action. It didn't have to be perfect, but we didn't overanalyze. We just took the action. And then after you take the action, then you can do a little analysis, make some adjustments, and then you do it again. And then again. And then again. And the same holds true for anything out there. So if you getting on the phone and calling prospects is the action you need to take and you do it consistently, instead of thinking about, well, who should I call or how should I do it? Or no, just pick up the phone, start calling, and then you'll figure it out from there and make the adjustments as you go. But action is the key.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about outbound calls and outbound prospecting, right? Like most people on the planet don't necessarily like to prospect. So, okay, so let's apply this formula to prospecting. So let's go with intention first. Okay, so intention, I intend to prospect. Okay, let's define who are you prospecting? Okay, doctors, business owners, professional football players. So if you're prospecting, okay, we're clear on who we're prospecting. Now, all right, for knowledge, okay, if I'm prospecting professional football players, do I know where they exist? Do I have a list? Do I have training on it? Okay, what do I say? What is needed to be said? Okay, do I have a script? Okay, have I practiced the script Have I been coached on it? Coaching can be by a friend, your manager, your coach, whoever. Right now, you've created a script, and now you have a universe of people to call. Now, structure. Now, this is now structure can be okay. How many calls are you going to have in that day? Like how many outbound calls you're going to have, or for how long are you going to do it? Like years and years ago, I had a client doing outbound calls, and he hated it. Right? Hated it. Like many of us do. Hated it. And I said, all right, so you hate it. Now, let's think about like your levels of hate. Do you really hate doing it for 3 hours? He's like, yeah, man, I super hate doing it for 3 hours. Okay, so we're not going to do it for 3 hours each day. Okay, how about 2 hours? Again, that makes me throw up in my stomach. Okay, all right. You can't throw up in your stomach if you're paying attention. But anyway, can you do it? Can you do it for an hour? Man, no, no way I'm doing it for an hour. And I'm like, okay, well, we do know that we have to do some sort of outbound prospecting. And he's like, yeah, I know. And like, I think it's really important that you do it every day too. And he's like, oh, I can't do an hour every day. And I said, all right, as your coach, by the powers invested in me, now you have to listen to me. You will do it for 20 minutes each day, every day without fail. Can you handle that? He's like, I can do it for 20 minutes. Like, how will I know it's 20 minutes? I'm like, set up a timer. Like, what if I don't talk to him? Like, I don't care. As long as you dial for 20 minutes, you're leaving voicemails, whatever, that's all you have to do. Create pride in the order of self. And the boy did it, and it was amazing. All of a sudden, guess what happened in a week or two? Business started to happen. And he's like, hey, it's not that bad. Now, here's a really cool part. Like, most of you are thinking, well, if he did it for 20, maybe he should do it for 40. And if he did
Not
it for
sustainable.
40, why, maybe he should do it for 80 minutes. Yes, increase more. No, he's a good soldier. He stuck to 20 minutes. It worked, and it worked for him, and it continues to work for him to this day because he hated it. Now, right now, you always hear that thing, well, successful people do the things that unsuccessful people don't. Okay, got it. But perhaps we can use a little brains and leverage it. And what really matters is the againness, is doing it again.
Mhm.
And he built a great, he's like, hey, yeah, it works. It just works. Now, it's pretty cool, just 20 minutes. Now, of course, you can do whatever you want. You want to do an hour, you want to do 2 hours, 3 hours, 100 dials a day. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you're doing it each day, and it's the consistency. And that's where the beauty comes from, right? It's that structure that sets you free. And if you have a buddy, you have an outbound buddy, you're both doing it for 20 minutes, both at the same time, having a contest, community, once again, you're getting better.
I remember those days. But
Probability
that
stacks in
works.
your favor. Remember, you're all human. And one of the greatest illusions out there is for you to be motivated and excited and gung ho every time that you go into the office or every time that you embrace work. Like motivation is a horrible master or mistress, however you want to say that. Okay. What really sets you free is structure or discipline. But it's in this level of structure and discipline so that you make it so that it works for you and that you will repeat it over time. And
Super
that's
coach
what
just kind of
sets you
goes
free.
back to that, out trixing yourself sometimes, right?
You must
Sometimes
rust
you have to
out
out tricks
friction.
yourself to get it going.
One of the most valuable things to control thyself, know thyself, and to thine own self be true. That means, yes, you are a beautiful rainbow unicorn with unlimited possibilities, and you can be a billionaire if you want to. Yes, that's part of it. But the other part about to realize is that you're lazy, you're distracted, you like to chase bright and shiny, and you want to do what you want when you feel like it, and you want to be run by your whims and your fancies. You want to basically be a savage. That doesn't work. And you will never accomplish your goals if you're willy-nilly. Willy-nilly doesn't work. Structure sets you free. But structures that work for you that you'll be willing to repeat over time.
Awesome. Awesome. So IKA, intention, knowledge, action. Love it. Love it. All right,
Intention.
super coach. Any last thoughts before we close out today?
These principles work in every aspect of existence. So we often use this business realm here. They also work in the personal realm. They work in your financial realm. They're everywhere. It's just about breaking it down and asking yourself, okay, are they present? Is my intention clear? Do I have the knowledge? Or have I been trained in this? Like if you want to get more referrals and introductions, have you been trained in it? What is your training? And have you practiced it? And have you got feedback from somebody? Have you been coached on it? Very simple. Okay. And then once again, taking consistent action. Do you have a community around you to support you? Do you have the skill set to do it as an infinity? And do you have a structure? Real simple. You want to get better at golf? Huh. Go get. Right? How much better do you want to get? What part of the game do you want to work on? Have you been have you actually been trained in your short game? It's an interesting inquiry, right? Have you actually been trained in your short game or in putting or in or did you just watch it on TV and from YouTube? Better than nothing. But if you actually trained it and then you practiced and coached, right? Once again, or your discovery process or your client onboarding or introductions or even giving seminars or building your business, have you been trained? Now, you may have been trained through the company. Awesome. And the company's got you to a certain stage. Now, it may take new actions to get you beyond that level. Because all of the brokerage houses, every single one out there, even the independents, regionals, etc., they're concerned about one thing. It's getting the advisors to stick, to make it. Because the kill ratio, financial services is not easy. I was talking to a guy the other day. He's been in the business about probably 18, 19 years. And he said, yeah, Ken, I started with training class. I was about 30 of us. And he's like, yeah, now there's 3 of us left. Still in the business. 3. Right. So,
No
yeah,
doubt.
survive, thrive, mastery, or purposefulness. Next level. We'll help you get to the next level.
Beautiful. All right, Super Coach, thank you very much. To our listeners, if you enjoyed today's podcast and got value from it, please be sure to share, subscribe, and follow our podcast. Hit the like button or give us a rating. We really appreciate it. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Getting Results Inc., and YouTube. Tune in to our next episode next week. Be great.